Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, Congressman Mark Amodei from CD2 joins us here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
They want us to believe we only have two options. That's just not working anymore. I've never been a follower. I'm a businessman and entrepreneur. I'm ready to forge a new path to secure our future, one that keeps Northern Nevada free, fair, and wild. A path that means freedom for all, including affordable housing.
I'm Greg Kidd, and I approve this message because I'm not from either political party. I'm for Nevada.
When Roe v. Wade was overturned, I couldn't believe it.
50 years of progress gone in an instant.
Now I hear Sam Brown was chairman of a group that fought to ban abortion.
With no exceptions, even for rape or incest.
And not only that, Sam Brown tried to hide it now that he's running for Senate, leaving it off his official campaign documents so we wouldn't find out.
It's no surprise that Sam Brown wants to hide his extreme views.
But we know he's not for us.
Wynn Senate is responsible for the content of this ad. This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always delighted to welcome back to the program Congressman Mark Amodei of CD2. Pleasure to have you back on the program, sir.
Good to be here, Sam. Thanks.
Tough week with what happened with former President Trump. Your response to that and what has happened since. We're taping this the Wednesday after the event last Saturday.
Well, we put out a thing pretty quick that said, hey, for all of you folks that have been praying for Donald Trump, your prayers have been answered today. And by the way, I didn't look at it, but there was something about folk hero. By the way, if you think this isn't a pretty significant event in the election, see Ronald Reagan. You know, anytime you end up in a gunfight and you're not the one with the gun and you survive it, the history's pretty strong. And I think so far that's strong politically. Now you go to, okay, so what happened and who did or didn't do whatever. We have the budgets on both Homeland as well as Secret Service. And so my staff director, Paul Ainsinger, basically calls and he says, I'm going to keep you updated. The director of Homeland called and asked if he could have your cell number. And I said, well, of course he can have my cell number, but with all due respect, he doesn't need to be calling me right now. He's got other stuff he needs to be doing. So obviously if he calls, I'll be happy to talk to him, but I can wait. But having said that, I told my staff director, I said, look at what we did in the 24 budget. And look at what we did in this year's budget for 25, the bill that we just passed. I want to make sure that nobody has the ability, unless it's true, has the ability to say, well, they asked for this or that and you guys didn't give them the resources. I'm happy to report that we provided more to both Homeland Security and Secret Service than the administration asked for in these areas, as well as there's flexibility in that process to say, hey, we got something that we need that isn't in the budget. You know, they can come with a reprogramming request or other things. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't one of those things, well, they coulda, woulda, shoulda, but you guys cut them back. We're cutting the budget in a lot of areas and cutting spending in a lot of areas But Homeland Security isn't one of them, and neither is Secret Service. So we'll see what happens Monday. Although I will say this, Sam, I don't have a real good point of reference on Elon Musk, but I know he bought Twitter, and I'm not an expert on, but it was like, hey, he didn't like the way things were going or whatever, so he was in a position to say, I'm buying it. I was told, if it's true, that he put out a tweet fairly soon thereafter on the director of the Secret Service saying she was guarding Cheetos. And it's like, you know what? And I'm not her protector, and those chips will fall where they may. But with all due respect, if you said that, she's a 27-year veteran of the Secret Service and was offered the head of security or whatever it's called at Pepsi. She was not guarding Cheetos and then somehow found herself in whatever. Obviously, in that business, perfection is the standard, and so we'll see how that goes. But if you said that, Mr. Musk, not a real good job of saying anything that resembles the facts with respect to this particular individual's career.
He also, yesterday as we're taping this, said that he's going to put $45 million a month into the Trump super PAC.
Well, that's fine. I mean, he can do whatever he wants politically, but when you buy Twitter to say, I don't like the way they're running that and blah, 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 and this and that, it's like, so what? I mean, I guess, is this just one of those things where Big Brother's okay as long as he's your big brother? I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Your thoughts on J.D. Vance as vice presidential pick? Is it too much of the same?
Well,
or is it next generation Trump?
Well, I think that's part of it. It's like somebody with some longevity, so he's obviously a little bit younger than me. And also I am told that the chemistry between those two is pretty strong. And so on those two things, you're like, well, that's understandable. I know that when Donald Trump was the president and he was looking for judicial folks, he was looking for folks that were young because he wanted that lifetime appointment. He wanted that shadow to be cast over a lot of years in the future. And at least with the demographic for Senator Vance, it's like, well, that clearly would apply to this.
The debate, it's a couple of weeks ago now, but I mean, I think that is burnished into over 50 million Americans. What were your thoughts on that?
You know, I mean, obviously it's political and whatever, but I just sit there and the whole sense of people will disagree, whether they're independents, Democrats, Republicans, people disagree about politics all the time. That's not news. But at some point in time, you used to have this deal where it's like, what's the best thing for the state, the city, the country in this thing? And I'll tell you what, I just sit there and look at that and I say, who's making the decisions here? Because I don't think it's Joe Biden. And by the way, you go back to that 2020 campaign where, well, he's hiding in his basement. It's like, and I know some of that's spin and all that other sort of stuff. But I'll just say, I don't know what kind of shape the president was in 4 years ago. And obviously the national news media are all in for their spin on whatever the heck it is. But it just looks to me like the priorities were, we want the power, we want our person, regardless of where that leaves the nation. And it's not that it's, I mean, everybody has an agenda, but I just think that agenda has not served us well. And with this person as at least the figurehead for that whole program, I don't think it served them well. And obviously, I don't think it served the country very well.
I don't want to be a defender of the media because in a lot of ways, I have as many questions as everybody else does about the way the media behaves these days. But if you look at the New York Times, for example, they have slammed Biden and told him to get out over and over and over since that debate.
Well,
and
I get
by
that.
the way, Adam
But
Schiff
Sam,
in the last 48 hours privately was saying the same thing, and that was kind of stunning.
Yeah, but Sam, the key phrase that you just said is since that debate. It's like, and I'm not a medical guy or whatever, but it's like, listen, in some ways, I mean, I think whatever his condition is has deteriorated in the last 3 years. But, and I get you, you're riding for the brand and you're entitled to.
I'm sorry, what brand?
The media.
No, I'm not right. No. I can do a dissertation for hours on everything that's wrong with the American media, and especially the fact that they constantly point out how bad everything is without mentioning that we actually live in the greatest country in the world. So no, I have plenty of issues with the media.
Here's all I'm saying.
I'm a talk show host, so I don't have to be part of that team.
Okay, good. Welcome to the club, big guy. But it's like, I'm old enough to remember when Dick Nixon broke some rules, there were Republicans leading him to the door. Well,
look, Nancy Pelosi was leading the president to the door the other day.
Yeah, but Sam, it's all the other day. I mean, he's been in this position of authority for 3.5 years. I mean, we've got Afghanistan. We've got the FBI that I think's been basically politicized. We got the Department of Justice that's doing some kind of funny things, Sam, raiding former presidents' homes. I've interviewed him. We won't release the transcript, Department of Justice, but hey, I don't think I don't think he's really got his faculties to the point where anybody would convict him. That's like when Jim Comey said Hillary Clinton's okay because no prosecutor would do whatever. It's like, you're the cop. You're not the district attorney, Comey.
Okay, may I play devil's advocate for a moment?
On your show, you certainly can.
So there are plenty of people on the other side of the aisle who would say exactly the same things about Donald Trump and some of the things that he has said and done, not only during his presidency, but in his post-presidency. So I mean, if the idea is that your top of your ticket has issues and that they should therefore be swept aside by their own party, that isn't happening on either side. One is 81, one is 78. Obviously, we saw from the debate which candidate looks stronger and seems to be more in control of their faculties, but I'm sure that there are plenty of moderates within the Republican Party that would have been very grateful if President Trump had not run again and that somebody else, perhaps younger, perhaps a little more moderate, that could have brought people back into the fold, especially after some of the Supreme Court decisions.
We started this conversation with you saying it's been a heck of a week.
Yes, it has.
And it has. And I appreciate the history, but the present looks pretty strong. And the present doesn't look good for objectivity on behalf of some of our institutions that were supposed to be the most objective. And whether that's the media creating that or not, I can just tell you as a guy who watches the same stuff that you do, that it sure doesn't look like everything's fine at the office and we're just going to have a few dust-ups over some policy things. And so we'll see. The ultimate poll on that and the ultimate decision on that will be made in, 110 days, not counting mail-in and early voting, which will be even less. But it's an interesting week and an interesting time. We'll see how the dynamic plays out.
Without looking at this from a partisan position, I am stunned that President Biden is still running 2 weeks after that debate. That was my thought on the night of the debate, was that with the whirlwind that would occur based on that, and I thought that Donald Trump's line in the debate, where I don't understand what he just said, and I don't think he does either, was the most telling line in that debate.
Yeah. Well, and that's all internal Democratic National Committee, dynamics. So you say, okay, if you get rid of him, who you got? Because you can do whatever you want. You probably can't get rid of him and the incumbent vice president. And by the way, if you get rid of one, then who do you put to the top? There was some talk within the last, since then, about, well, whoever it is would probably think they're a sacrificial lamb. I don't know, that was before. That wasn't before the Butler stuff. But now with the Butler stuff, it's kind of like, I mean, a lot of moving parts.
And billions of dollars in spending to come.
Yeah.
both from the parties themselves, the campaigns themselves, and then all this third-party money. It's going to be, and it's all already started. I mean, it's not like...
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see. It's like, okay, so the money will be there. The question is it spent wisely? And by the way, is the message something that will resonate? You got a good message and you spend your money wisely, those are good things. If you're just spending to spend, then it's great news for the consultants, but if you don't connect, and Sam, you know as well as I do, elections in many ways now have become about who are you voting against?
Couldn't agree more. Let's take a break. More with Congressman Mark Amodei after this timeout.
Story County is leading Nevada. Home of the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, Google, Tesla, Panasonic, and other world-leading companies. Story County provides thousands of tech, advanced manufacturing, and logistics careers for Nevadans. We're diversifying and driving Nevada's economy and generating millions in tax revenue and billions in economic activity across northern Nevada. Story County is leading Nevada's future.
Early in the morning or throughout the night, professional truck drivers are on the job, serving you, safely moving freight that's crucial to our economy. From the oldest industries to our newest innovators, from the exotic to the everyday, trucks are everywhere, moving everything. Never afraid to embrace a future that makes Nevada and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with the congressman from CD2, and that is Congressman Mark Amodei. Let's talk about the lands bill.
Mm-hmm. Which one?
Well, and that's the first question, which is you have your lands bills. Suddenly Jackie Rosen has a Washoe County lands bill. What is that all about? Are you guys working together?
Well, I mean, Sam, you've heard me say before, we don't write lands bills. We go to the planners and zoners and say, what do you want?
Correct.
Because that's what they're elected to do. And so we included all the stuff that was consensus in the Fallon Range expansion bill that was no easy thing to get by. And at the end, in the Senate, it's like, nope, we're just doing the base expansion. Okay, so we took the stuff that was Douglas, Carson, there's a little bit of Washoe in there, a big chunk of Pershing County in there, a little piece of Elko, and anyhow said, here you go. This was all the consensus stuff. And so that's, the reason Washoe wasn't in there in a big way is because you have Sparks, you have Reno, and you have the county. And so it was like, okay, what do you want? And they all had different agendas. And I'm not being critical, I'm just saying they had different agendas. So it wasn't, we weren't in a position, because one of our things, we say, we want a resolution from your thing, because if you tell us that's what you want, not that I don't trust them, but it's like, I want that as Exhibit A when I go to my colleagues and say, this is what the local planners and zoners want. And it's been very helpful to us, and it's given some of the NGOs fits, because they're like, oh, you know, they did this and that. And it's like, well, this is where we got it. So that's what we did. We didn't have that consensus in Washoe, and so they weren't in the bill. Not that they couldn't get in at any point in time, but Senator Rosen decided in her, as she's perfectly entitled to do, I'm going to do a Washoe bill. So she's done a Washoe bill. I'll just tell you that, I mean, and by the way, the Clark County bill's back in play again, that didn't get out of committee in the Senate last Congress, in the 116th Congress, or 17th, whatever. And so what you've got is 2 Nevada lands bills in the Senate right now. Catherine Cortez Masto's for Clark County, which is an updated SNPLMA, which, by the way, is 23-ish years old. So it's not exactly like somebody's rushing into whatever. It's a good bill. I know there were some internal problems with what the Clark County Commission wanted.
They wanted more than was given in the first one.
And what Senator Cortez Masto's staff ended up doing. And so I'm assuming that they've kind of resolved all that stuff. And so that bill's got some legs now in the Senate. Senator Rosen's obviously working her bill hard for Washoe County. And so I'm sitting here going, maybe that's not such a bad thing, because at the end of this whole process, when you meet to conference, our problem before is there's been nothing in the Senate. So they've just kind of gone like this for reasons that are not entirely clear to me, although we've worked some of them with Senator Manchin and his staff and whatever, but it's like, I'm starting to think, well, if there's a Nevada bill over there, and it's just my guess that Clark County would take precedence for the obvious reasons, and there's a Northern Nevada bill over here in the House, that maybe that dog will end up hunting finally. Because we're excited about all this stuff. We've got the votes, although I had a little trouble with Tom Tiffany, who's from Minnesota, who says, I don't know about this Ruby Mountains thing. And it's like, it says no oil and gas exploration. It's supported by the Elko County Commission. The Forest Service has the geological stuff. The likelihood of oil and gas in the Ruby Mountains is like this. So the locals support it. And so I had Bruce Westerman come to me and goes, if that wasn't in there, I think we could move a little faster. So what I told him just this week was, I said, you make Tom Tiffany make the motion so nobody has to figure out what happened. He makes the motion in the committee markup to remove that. I says, but I'll just tell you this, Bruce, it's going to come back. The Senate isn't going to process this bill without that in there. So that's fine. I kind of resent somebody from the Canadian border telling me what to do in Elko County, but I'm not going to let my resentment get in the way of moving forward some great stuff for Trick 2 or whatever the name is in Lyon County outside of Fernley. It blocks up 150,000 acres in Pershing County that used to be checkerboard, which whether you ranch it, whether you mine it, whether you develop it in other ways that's all good stuff. Good stuff for Douglas, good stuff for Native tribes, everything.
Because we're running out of time here. Let me ask you this. Do you think you can get it done in this session of Congress?
Yeah. I mean, we have to. I don't know who's going to be at the next one.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org. Save money and take transit. Did you know you can ride the bus all day for less than what it would cost you for a gallon of gas? Plan your trip now by going to rtcwashoe.com.
Fantastic cocktails and delicious food. It's a good time to eat. Over 500 hot slots plus electronic table games.
It's a good time to play.
Player rewards and big-time jackpots.
It's a good time to win.
Times a tamarack. Carson Valley Inn, it's your place for the good times. Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Congressman Mark Amodei of CD2. Last cycle, Danny Tarkanian decided he was going to take you on. Mm-hmm. That didn't work out so well for Danny. This time you have an independent, Greg Kidd, who's taking you on and is putting a lot of money into this race. Yep. Your thoughts on Mr. Kidd?
Well, I mean, I don't have a lot because there's not much of a public service background there. There's a lot of money there. There's not a lot of Nevada depth there. I think it was on your show or YouTube thing, well, I don't know about that, but I'm still learning. And it's like, with all due respect, anybody can run who wants to, and how he spends his money is entirely up to him. But in this district, when you talk about original Nevada, you talk about depth in the district, you talk about a record of public service that's decades long compared to, well, and then you say, well, who are you going to caucus with? I mean, you asked him that. And it's like, well, I'm going to go back and forth both ways. Well, Sam, God bless you, but that ain't the way it works. So when you talk about the only seat that's responsible for Northern Nevada, you want somebody who's been here for a couple of years? You want somebody with no public service background? And if you do, the voters are never wrong. But I think the voters in Nevada are smart enough to know. And by the way, we're not going to spend money with him, but I'm sure the consultants in the Bay Area love the fact that he's spending that kind of money.
Will you debate him on Nevada Newsmakers?
I will if you make it a long interview, not just a 30-minute, because it'll take an hour to talk about who's got depth in what. And so it's like, yeah, we'd be happy to talk with you about setting that up.
I'll give you an hour, sir. All right?
Okay, you're not going to charge me for it now.
No, there's no
You can charge him for it. He's got a lot of money. Charge him.
There'll be no charge, but you have accepted if we will do it for an hour.
Yep.
Can we put commercials in there? Is that okay?
Do I get a cut?
No.
Okay. I never do. That's fine.
Thank you, Congressman. Always a pleasure. I'll see you in D.C. in September.
Good.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Winnemucca Big R.
Hi, I'm John Walker. Welcome to Big R Lovelock.
Hi, I'm Rich Martin. Welcome to Fallon Big R.
My name is Braden. Welcome to Big R Fernley.
Hi, I'm Kelly. Welcome to Big R Sparks.
For 50 years, Nevada Heating has been keeping people comfortable in their homes. At Nevada Heating, call the Do It Right guys and get the air conditioning back on today. That's the Nevada Heating way. Why sweat for days on end when Nevada Heating can get your air conditioning fixed today? Call us today and we'll fix it today at 323-5585 or schedule us on our website at nevadaheating.com.
Imagine a magical garden that feeds Carson City's hungry and homeless, teaches our high school students agriculture, creates hanging floral displays to beautify downtown, and yet charges nothing. It's not magic. It's the Greenhouse Project. It's real, it's growing, and it needs your help. Go online to carsоncitygreenhouse.org so together we can grow it forward.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day on various platforms, including television, radio, our website, audio and video podcasts, YouTube. If you want to find the show, you can find it pretty darn easily. And we cover politics, business, health, and education. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next broadcast.